Hello and welcome everyone back to another Energy Unleashed podcast. I'm Suzanne Worthley with my co-host Kim Hess. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Doing good.
This one, Kim, I am going to I want to just chat on this one because I had a client the other day. It was a newer client, and it kind of cracked me up because this person said, I said, "So, do you do a lot of healing work?" I mean, it's kind of one of my first questions when they're new. And she went, I've done blah, 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 and I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, in nothing like what I did, but the amount of healing modalities that she rattled off that she's done in the last years was just like, holy bananas. I was feeling like I got to get out there and do some of this stuff because it was like a lot. And I thought it was just so funny because it was like sometimes people try so many different things,
Yeah.
and you got to find what resonates for you.
hmm
And what resonates for you might not be me. And I know you've done some stuff. So we're going to maybe just pull out some of your stories and then some of my stories. And then we'll just kind of like maybe summarize some other ones. But just like these, everybody watching, take what resonates, toss what doesn't. But same with the practice, right? Same with the practitioner, same with anything in this world. Take what resonates for you or what you resonate with, because maybe certain modalities are for you and not for me, or vice versa, right?
Right. And you know what? Actually, too, you might not resonate with it to start with, and then you go back a year or two later, and it's exactly what you need at that time. So
Good
that's
point.
happened to me too. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, yeah. And I think also depending on how your skill set is going, like if you're like really ramping up your skill set, and that will open a door to a whole nother different thing,
Yeah.
that all of a sudden like, oh man, I did way too much of this and now I need some help on that or whatever. It just, the doors kind of open. So I just thought it'd be kind of fun to summarize them. I know that you and I both see chiropractors, and I really believe that that's an awesome. I know a lot of people love them, and a lot of people don't care for them.
Mhm.
But I love chiropractors. Do you? Do you love them?
Yeah, I do. I don't go as much as I used to, because I went consistently for years, like three
Yeah.
years, and I haven't felt the need to do that as much. So that's good. I think
When
things
I
are lined
was
up.
really struggling with the mercury poisoning, my
Mhm.
insurance was so completely maxed out because I was doing so many different, things. So everything was free at that point for the remainder of the year. It was about 3 months. And I was so happy. I got to go to the chiropractor, like with all of the little treatment things like the rolly beds and the, whatever, all the little sidebar stuff. And I got to go like 3 times a week. I felt awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
awesome. I don't do that now, obviously, because I can't afford to. But what I wanted to say about chiropractors, I think is important, is there's different kinds of chiropractors. I have three, and I do different work with all three. And so, like, I have one that is very, very psychic and sensitive and moves energy, the way that I do in some regards, etc. Then I have like serious bone cracking one that I love, kind of a
Mhm.
thing. And then I have a different one that does much more like long-term therapy kinds of things. So I have different ones. Do you have the same, or do you like rotate?
No, I basically had one that I consistently went to.
Okay.
Um, it was really focused on nervous system. And
Yeah.
because I was very disconnected, I think, in a lot of different parts of my body. So they opened up, so that the flow of the energy, can go better through my whole nervous
Right.
system. So
Right. And
that
that's
one I
what I was
spent a
doing.
lot of time with. But then we have our friend that's the intuitive energy mover that I see
Yeah.
periodically. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But other than that, no, I haven't. I think I'm going to probably be in need of finding somebody closer to me.
Yeah.
That's more of a put everything back in place just because
Right.
that age.
And right. And that leads us right into acupuncture and acupressure, because that's the same thing. I do a lot of work on my nervous system and spine and keep everything going, especially after the mercury stuff. That was really imperative because my whole system was down. And so this is something that I am aware of, and I like acupuncture for that, to work with the, different than I work with my own chakras. I like the meridian line work, and I like the electrical feeling of that. Do you do much acupuncture or
Mm,
pressure? Mm-mm.
no,
Okay.
no, I've tried it. It didn't go well.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
And so I think I'm at that point where I could definitely try it again and see if it works for me now.
And again, I think it's the practitioner. I've had
Yeah.
really two different, hugely, vastly different kinds of practitioners. And I thought that was super interesting. And I'm trying a third very soon here because I think they all do different work. And I think that's
Right.
the cool part about everything, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now we both see somebody for cranial sacral. We see the same person. Do you want to talk about what that does? Because I think you do a little more than I do on that.
Yeah, I go kind of quarterly to see her, and my experiences are very physical working with her. She definitely works with the angelic realm mostly, I think, with me. But it is definitely about energy slash body muscular, releasing things that don't belong anymore, and putting things in place that maybe need to be back in place. It's just a kind of an interesting experience all the way around, and
It can
very
be really emotional, really
emotional, spiritual, all of it for me.
yeah.
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 Very past life stuff, current life stuff, just really helps to move things through. But I love that she brings in such that angelic, pure energy while she's doing that work.
I think the particular one that we see is very intuitive, more so than I've seen two other cranial people that were much more practitioner-ish. Still good stuff, but nothing the same in terms of like, sometimes I feel like a pretzel when we go see ours, and it feels awesome to, unwind all that stuff, right?
I mean, you're gonna put my legs going where?
Yeah. What are you doing? And I think it's a lot of connecting the organs in conversation.
Yes.
And both of the other two that I saw also that were not as out there were good, but it wasn't the same experience. I obviously resonate towards people that are more out there because I am. But the ones that were more like practicum practices were still good, but it didn't have like the huge releasing and the unwinding that I can do. So
Yeah.
unwinding is another thing, and Rolfing is another thing that I did. Have you ever done
Never
Rolfing?
done that.
Okay,
No.
that was really bizarre. And I think I scared the crap out of the practitioner that I had because stuff would come through and he would tap into it psychically. And because a lot of the galactic stuff would come through and it kind of blew his brain. I think one time he's like, I have to just leave the room for a minute.
He's out on the hall going, holy crap.
He lost his ground completely. And he said, I just really have to leave the room for a minute. And he went, and I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I just can't keep my ground with you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, so
Yeah.
that was super funny. But Rolfing is very different too. It's a lot more like that twisting of the body. I thought it was going to be super like banging and hurting you. My perception was, I don't know.
Well, is that supposed to be like with your fascia stuff?
Yeah,
like
your fascia, and you're supposed
fascia,
to
yeah.
work the fascia. But I thought, for whatever reason, I thought it was going to be way more barbaric, and it wasn't.
Yeah, good.
But I went seriously out of body when I did the Rolfing work, and so I would fly right out of my body. I think that's what scared him so bad. And I would get like unbelievable like amounts of light beings in the office, and it was, I don't know if it was because he projected some of that and could hold some of that, but yet wasn't capable of holding that. So it was very interesting. But the problem I had with the Rolfing was that I don't think it's unique to this particular gentleman either. They really sign you up for this huge chunk, and it was really expensive. And it was like, no, you don't get to just come once in a while. It's this big, long protocol. And that was kind of like, I don't, that's like a health club
It's a
where you don't
huge
let me out.
Mm-hmm. Major commitment.
Yeah, so I didn't like that as much. But anyway.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
right.
How about massage?
Yes. And one of my favorite people to do that is your sister.
Yeah,
I
who
always have
now is
such
not
great
local
experience.
enough for us.
I know.
Shout out to Lisa.
Yeah, definitely. But massage is huge because it no matter what type of massage I do, there are benefits. It doesn't have to always be intuitive. It doesn't need to be, but it loosens up areas of your body that you don't realize are so tight or so wound up. I think it's important to do that. just
Or you
loosens
do
up.
realize you're touting wind up and you can't get rid of it yourself. You need
Yeah.
that person because you can't get to it or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that is another thing where it is important to have different kinds of practitioners. The sister you mentioned was a very shamanic and very got a lot of totems and got a lot of psychic information and was moving more healing energy. I've had the kind of massage that is super deep tissue that beats you up. I've had the really relaxing one, which isn't my favorite because I think I'm in there to get rid of stuff. So I'm a little I'm a little bit more masochistic when I come to my massages. I want to really go deep therapy. I love stones. I love the hot oils. I love the hot towels. I love all the little doodahs that go along with massage.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to think massage was sort of like, oh, I'm going to gift myself a massage. And it used to sound like it was like something really great. Now I'm like, oh no, if I don't have a massage like pretty often, my body, because of my work, it gets jacked up. And so mine is more about this is a really serious modality to keep up with. And if I don't keep up with it, I get really, really out of whack. And then my chiropractor starts yelling at me, you haven't had a massage, you know, because they all interact with each other. So I think it's really fun to buddy things up sometimes too. I think it's really awesome to do energy work and or chiropractic right before massage or after or whatever, so that you're doing all of the body parts a favor by working collectively.
Yes. Yes. Especially at a certain point in time, your body is in need of something that all three can tap into.
Yep.
You know, when you do them all together. But muscular, you know, with the skeletal, I think that's really huge because
I would love to have a massage therapist like every single day. Wouldn't that just be like,
right?
Do you think you get bored?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I think of like super rich people that just have them on task, you know, like do they have them like 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week? Gosh, right?
I
And
would go for one time a week for me would be great.
Well, then there's those little massage places that you go to, and oftentimes they're these wonderfully powerful, itty bitty, teeny little Asian women that look like they're, you know, 100 pounds, and they kick your ass all the way across town. And I love those people. They're so lovely and they're so talented and they're so gifted. But they twist you up like a pretzel. Remember the one we did?
Yeah.
All together
we're making
Arizona?
all kinds of crazy noises in that
There
room.
was 4 of us doing it, and we could see, you know, we all got our faces in the thing, but we could all hear each other screaming. And I opted to not have my leg wrapped around my neck or something like that because I couldn't do it. And you guys were all like, ah.
Seriously, I think she had me in a total, like my head up here, my feet way up here. And I'm like, what is happening?
And I'm like, no, Suzanne's body doesn't do that anymore. Thank you very much. But again, I think it's fun to be able with massage to take it seriously as a thing that is important part of a protocol, but mix it up too, so that you're not always having the same therapist. And what I think is important for that therapy is always communicating. I would like you to go deeper, or that's too deep. Don't ever let yourself be beat up, because I have been hurt in terms of having that before. And it's important to be able to speak up and know when.
It was a long-term injury too. It really affected you.
Yep. Okay. What about tapping?
It's so funny that I've never done that extensively, but lately I find myself doing this without thinking about it. And so it depends on what I'm doing. All of a sudden it's like tap 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 tap, and I'm like, wow, where did that come from? Or like I've done this one quite a bit. I don't know where it comes from or why I'm doing it, but not doing it with someone else is doing it. I don't know.
I did a class of it, and then I did a whole like a gallery where you were learning it and all doing it. And it just isn't my thing. It's just not my thing. However, I've also been doing what you said. I'm not doing tapping in the regards of like how they tell you to do it in the order and where the place is, but I am finding myself doing like really weird, especially down this area in my heart area, and sometimes here too. So that is funny because I'm not necessarily doing the tapping protocol, but I am doing some weird little taps.
Yes, it's so interesting.
That's so funny.
And it's really not, it's like all of a sudden I'm aware that I'm doing it. And I'm like, well, that's really okay.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That's weird that we're both doing it and we know each other so well and didn't even know that. That's funny. We got to do a webcast to learn. Okay. We're writing some down, and I have some clients quite a few actually that reference EMDR. And so this is a response to suppressed memories, trauma, etc. I've never done that before, nor have you, right?
I'm not, no.
Okay. And I know a lot of quite a few of my clients like it and say that it's done some really great work. In my understanding, it's more like therapy, and it's re-narrating trauma, revisualizing, re-narrating, re-talking, re-feeling. So it's rebooting the trauma, the traumatic events and situations in the body so that you can handle it differently. And that, in my understanding, is completely different than biofeedback, which you're doing with an actual machine and you're watching your reactions to the machine and you're re-narrating and read. And so I think I did a biofeedback maybe once or twice, and it just wasn't my deal either. So I don't do either of those two. Have you done either?
No, I've done the other one. I've read about the biofeedback, but I've never done it.
Yeah. And the only closest I can get to that was when I was doing eye and brain therapy for the mercury therapy for my brain. Yep. And I would have to do a lot of feedback like this. And I was doing lots and lots and lots of games. And I mean, I did that therapy for more than half a year. And
were they tracking like your response in your brain?
At one time they were tracking it. It felt like MK Ultra. I'm like, I don't like this. It feels like really weird because they stuck a thing on my head and they were tracking my brain. Yeah, I didn't like that. But that was like checkerboard squares and watching my reaction and my eye reaction and my time reaction.
Okay.
The other time I've had my brain tracked was actually doing a paranormal investigation up at the Palmer House. And this one gentleman had a bunch of new toys and they were all kind of doing the brain thing. And it was funny because I said, can I see if I can trick it? And he's like, what? So I would go in and I would do things with my telepathy and freak his machine out. And I also did that on there is a computerized when you do your aura.
Yeah.
You do your auric fields and you can put your hand on and then the aura shows you, and it's a thing to help you understand your auras and blah, blah, blah. And I asked her if I could, I paid for it. I said, this is my session, right? Can I do anything I want? And she's like, sure. And so we practiced on how you can not trick the machine, but just change it.
Right. Right.
And so those things are easy for me because I have a really strong electric field. So I can play with all of those things and kind of freak them out. And, I can make the little electronic thing go off that's supposed to be a ghost, but it's just me. So those are kind of fun things to just stick around with once in a while, but they aren't necessarily healing. They're not healing me. Right?
Crazy.
Okay. Yeah. You are a huge nutrition person.
Yeah.
I'm not as much.
Yeah, I actually went to a woman that it was really cool because she had technology that she used that would tap into your body energy. And so she could through a computer program, it would tell you like, how your liver is doing, your kidney, do your different organs, all the different things. But also she was able to intuitively work with the program to know maybe what kind of supplements you need, what kind of food you should avoid, that type of thing. And that was really helpful for me for quite a while because I was having a lot of digestion issues,
right,
that I just could not figure out. And she really helped me through that period to actually heal a lot of my digestion issues and feel better. I just had more energy and everything. So, which improved my thyroid too. I didn't need as much thyroid medicine after I did that.
Yeah, that's good. I've never actually ever been to a nutritionist in my entire life. The
nutritionist at the doctor's office was like, here's the food pyramid, go after it. And I'm like, this isn't what's happening. I'm not eating horribly, but my body is not responding to things well at all. So this was an option that came up that I felt really, really kind of moved me in the right direction. And I've done different things since, but I haven't gone back to a nutritionist per se. So
did this one include like, I'm forgetting the letters. There's an HRD or something, HDR or something. It's a blood test for nutrition. And you just get this enormous amount of things for like allergies and things that are, not good for you and blah, blah. Is that kind of a thing also?
No, she did not use those kinds of tests because the system that she had actually tapped into, this food does not do well with your body right now. Your body doesn't want it,
Right.
kind of thing, versus your blood type and your genes show that you shouldn't eat gluten or whatever.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and it was pretty basic when you look at a lot of these. It was, get rid of a bunch of stuff and then gradually reintroduce after you're feeling better to see what works with you and what doesn't.
Did she put you on a lot of supplements?
It would, yeah, there were several as you went, and it would change.
Yes.
But I think the biggest supplement for me was didn't have enough magnesium going in my body at all. So
I think that's a problem with a lot of people.
Yeah, that one is vitamin D.
I did a long distance supplement healing kind of protocol for quite some time, where this gal, you would just take a picture of yourself and you'd send it to her, and then she would give you all of these advice, and you'd take this long, big, 30-minute consultation, and then she'd adjust all of your enzymes and supplements. And they were constantly changing, 2 of this, 1 of that. Now you need 5 of that and 0 of that. And I did it for a while, and and it wasn't her, it's just me. I'm kind of an odd duck. And it was so flippin' expensive that I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I think she muscle tests, which is another modality that a lot of people do for many things. I'm not a huge muscle tester, but I can also test with a pendulum. But I spent a ton of time and I was tenacious and did it all, and I didn't feel anything different. It was just like, same thing with flower essences for me. All of those, I did homeopathic, drops. I did all of those modalities for whatever purpose don't work on my body. It just, and I don't think it's a mental thing either, because I was super psyched. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be really cool. So, I mean, it wasn't like I stuck a negative thing in there.
Right. I think for me, like the botanical and some of that, there are certain things I really enjoy, whether I get it in a oil or, but I don't think it feels necessarily like it's healing me as much as I enjoy it.
I do have to say things like thieves. I cover myself with thieves when it's wintertime, like every night before I go to bed. And I do a lot of the oil protocols. I love valor. I love forgiveness. I love all of the certain, and I use Young Living ones a lot just because I get in through my chiropractor that uses that.
Yeah.
And I get them at shows and such. But there's many oils that I can love to use. But again, I think that they're more pleasing for me than anything. But why isn't pleasing part of a healing? Yeah, it is.
It should, right. So, right. When you put it that way, there's one called Breathe this fall that I've been using, and it really helped, because this fall was tough. I mean, the summer was tough with the smoke in the air from Canada and all the stuff, and it was dry, and it was just a weird kind of season. But that one seemed to actually help me.
Okay.
I would put it kind of close to my, up here, and then on my wrist. That one seemed pretty good.
And in that same vein, you and I both work with rocks and crystals and all of that stuff. So oftentimes I will be using the crystals or the rocks or the whatever in conjunction with the oils and those kinds of things as well. So I think that crystal healing is a great modality. There are crystal healers. We have one in Vibe Tribe, for example, Cindy. Those are actual practitioners that do crystal bed healing. We have another friend who does crystal bed healing, which is unbelievable. Awesome. I think that seriously, I like the crystal healers that work with the rocks, but the crystal bed for me, it's like the John of God bed, but it's not. And I can't remember what it's called because I'm having a moment here. But this is our friend in Sedona, and she does them remote as well. But that thing kicks ass. I love that thing. I fly out of my body in 2 seconds, and I come back with so much information, and I feel wickedly like just plugged in. I love
and the information she comes back with, you know, and how you marry it up. It's like fascinating. It's so, and I feel so good after I have a session with her too. So.
And I love them in person more than remote, just because I love to go there and be with her. So it just certainly works remote, though. I mean, it really does, so it's fine and dandy. But that to me is super fun. Along that same vein, in that area, when we go down, we also work with the crystal skull. We oftentimes work with Einstein. So that's a whole different kind of a healing mechanism too, where you can find, and I've done other skulls besides that, just that one. They all feel different. to me.
Mm-hmm.
I get different information. It does different things to my body. And these are different experiences also in terms of you can go places or get information or upload or whatever. I mean, my whole entire journey started with me putting my forehead on a huge, gigantic 65 pounds crystal skull at some expo. And this was probably 20 years ago. That's when the aliens came. It was unreal.
It's so amazing. And yeah,
Yeah.
the Einstein is just fantastic.
Strong. Yeah.
And I have my own rose quartz.
Oh, that's right.
Penrose.
Penrose.
Penrose. It's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. Yours is gorgeous. Yours is beautiful. Homeopaths, like I said, I've done some of that stuff. The muscle testing, the kinetic stuff, all of that stuff. The dowsing rods, the actual dauber rods, all of those are tools for me. Mm-hmm. And I use them periodically with my people, pendulums, the whole 9 yards. I don't do tons on myself for that, but I do have some friends, we both do, that use them a lot for themselves too. And
yeah, I started using my pendulum a lot more for myself than I used to.
Are you doing that still?
Yeah, especially with my chakras.
Awesome.
Like, I'm not doing it necessarily every day, but I'm checking in to make sure they're moving like they should be. And that makes a big difference. And
do you just lay down and do it over yourself, or do you just do it out here?
Yeah, or I sit in my chair. I just start with the root and talk out loud about, okay, it's root chakra. Show me how it's moving.
Oh, cool.
And I move up, to sacral, solar, heart, just go all the way up. And once in a while, they're not all moving like they should. So then I'm like, all right, let's open up. Let's go. Move it. And it'll really start spinning. So,
well, that's fun. Mm-hmm. And I think on that same vein, you've got rattles, you've got bowls, you've got drums, you've got all that stuff. I do drumming on myself. I do bowls, I do all, bells, I do all of that stuff for clients and or myself, and a lot of it when I'm doing land work too. So those can be super, I think, really cool, all the way down to, tarot. How much tarot reads do you ever get?
I did a really great one years ago, like 4 years ago. That was a genealogy tarot reading by a woman in Australia. And it was fascinating. I gave her the family tree and she was able to go through and actually talk about my lineage all the way on both sides of the family.
Awesome.
And what came out of it was that our family, both family lines, had a lot of baby death sadness.
Yeah.
And so the healing that came from that, and I spent years doing this, working with you, working with other modalities, in releasing that for our family lines. And it was such a fantastic experience. But that was really a totally different type of read for me that I had. I didn't expect, and it turned out really great. Yeah.
Well, and you and I both play with Oracle cards and tarot and all of the cards. And oftentimes we'll do a whole year, kind of like a read of the year. I didn't do it this year. You did. I think you were the only one that actually did it. Has it been on?
Yes. I went back and looked at it, for me personally, especially.
Awesome.
It's been very close. But Oracle cards, I pull a lot. I'm like, wow, I'm feeling really off. What's my message today? What do I need to hear?
An Oracle card can be an awesome thing for an altar too. Like if you're holding space for somebody, oftentimes I will put Oracle cards up for my clients that are in hospice or whatever. So they can hold space almost like a small altar, which is really cool. So that's a fun one too.
Yeah, I use a lot of Oracle.
Yeah. So dovetailing off of that, astrology, remember you and I went to Scottsdale and had our chart read by someone who was supposed to be fabulous, and it was
horrible.
Really not worth the time or money spent. But I have long since done other ones that have been quite amazing. It's a lot over my head.
Yeah, me too.
The one modality that I know nothing about. So even if you ask me right now, where's your sun and your moon
and whatever, I'm like, I don't know.
No idea what you're asking me. So
yeah, but I've had an amazing reading and it all made sense. And the timing of things is so fascinating to me. But for some reason, it's not something that just continues to it's not something I want to continue to work with. I don't know why that is. Like I don't want to go back and look at it over and over and really
Yeah, I just
myself.
don't retain it very well. I don't know
Yeah.
why that just doesn't click in my head very well. I think you're really, really, really into it, or you're really, really like confused,
Yeah.
is kind of my take on that one.
Yeah.
Same thing with all the other little modalities, funsy stuff like, reading palms. I think these are things that you have to do quite often because your palm changes, right? Reading ruins, reading all of those kinds of things. Those are all like crystal ball, scrying. All of those things are fun modality tools. I think that they're great. I don't necessarily see them as healing modalities, but I think that they're still fun to do.
It's information and learning. I think that's,
yeah.
or it triggers something within you.
Right.
Potentially to go get healing.
But you did say that you did the lineage healing, and that includes past life. So did you do a specific past life healing?
I did.
Okay.
Well, it turned out to be past life because it was looking at the whole family. It is your genealogy.
Okay.
And basically it goes into what your purpose is, here. And it was to, help with this healing for,
right.
And so one of the cool things that came out of it, it was a water healing, which is so funny because I'm a water baby is my primary deal, but putting intention into jars of water for the healing for the different lines. And then I went to a lake and did a prayer and released the water into the lake to release that sadness.
I didn't know that you did all that.
Yeah, this is probably...
I'm getting thirsty just listening to you here. This is like amazing. So you went into the water and released it all so your body was in the water. Kind of like a baptism. That's interesting.
It was really, really, it was I felt it big time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it came through, there's different modalities that I've done where this will come out again. So it wasn't finished by any means, but it was a good start to that healing.
Right.
So yeah, it was really interesting.
I didn't know that was that extensive. I guess I just never realized that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
What about regular traditional therapy?
No, I've not done that. Although I think there's some of the learning and different things I've done. It kind of comes in, but I'm not sitting in front of a person, doing that type of healing.
Yeah. And I think what's funny for me, nor have I maybe did with like the kids when they were little or something, one or two times or some little bits and pieces, but nothing long-term in that regard. But I think what's funny is I oftentimes will get clients in here that have dropped their therapist and they're doing this kind of work instead, which I think is really super cool.
I had somebody ask me recently, is Suzanne a therapist? And I was like, in her way, she
pretty
is.
Much. Pretty much. However, a spin on that, which I have done, is hypnotherapy. And I've never done that before until just this last year. And that was super interesting because I didn't know if it was going to, well, first of all, I was a little hestant because the only hypnotherapy I ever saw was like in a bar when they make people, bark and do stupid things.
Like at a Christmas party.
I don't think I want to do that, but then I really looked and found an actual reputable one, etc. And I think that this is an amazing thing. It's not cheap. And it takes a commitment. Again, it takes a package of sorts, a commitment, and I get restless because I can pull things faster and quicker. So sometimes to go through the narration and the da-da-da-da-da, I get a little antsy pants. But basically for me, because I can go out of body, I can watch myself out of body being in the therapy. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of been interesting. But I think that is pretty profound if you stick with it. But again, these are not short modalities.
No. Yeah, but I've heard really good things. If you find the right person.
Yeah. And boy, do you have to find the right person, especially when you're somebody like me that, if you're saying really crazy stuff when you're half in your body and they're like,
freak them out. Yeah.
Weird old lady. So Yeah. Shamans, we've both done shamans in many different ways. We've done shamans. I've done shamans in Peru for 7 years, multiple times over and over and over again. Love shaman work, completely different than what I do. The ones that are friends with me down in Peru call me shaman of the sky or healer of the sky, because they don't really they do work with the sky, obviously, in the cosmos, but they're much more into the ground and into the Pachamama, into the earth energy. Yeah. And when I stand next to a shaman, what's so funny, the very first time, it was really difficult to sync up because they're very, very earth. And I'm so magnetic. Electric was like 2 degrees. No, magnets, fighting. And it was so hard for my body to settle down that it was really kind of scary for me at first. And yeah, so now after all these years, I can pull that energy way easier. But the first shaman healing I had was very strange. My own healing before I did tours was very strange because they don't speak any English, and you're with this teeny, like very small person who's all garbed up and just, hitting you with rocks and, chanting and spit like little water on me. And I'm like, what is happening? Yeah. But so powerful. I mean, so powerful.
Yeah.
And such beautiful people and such heartfelt people, and so amazingly brilliant in what they do. And they're cultivated from birth in those places. These are families that hand down the title, and they'll pick the child, and it's a very serious business for them. And so I've been very fortunate to work with the same family for all of this time, and it's an amazing opportunity. I think they're
for them to become a shaman it's like what they have to go through, and the trauma they have to go through and experience to be what they are is just like fascinating.
Yeah, they do some big stuff. So yeah, really it's stuff. Pretty crazy. Yeah. But you've done the same that we're talking about, but you've also done something a little different. What did you do?
Yeah, I did. There's a woman that is a shaman. She happened to be in Sedona, and through a friend, I went to her and another gal for healing. And it was I walked in and I'm like, oh my God, she's a tree. Like she's her body, like I felt like she was a tree. And so it was very.
What does that mean? Was she barking?
She was tall and thin and had like, I just looking at her, I was like, she's like seriously earth, kind of energy. And it was fantastic. It was conversation with them, kind of getting to know each other. But then the work that I did was very deep in the body through coughing, noises, release. Like there was just so many things. It was kind of similar to the sacrocranial that we do, but different. It was, I don't even know how to, but what they looked at and what was in my body and what I was holding, and releasing was really amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot.
And I have not, nor have you, I believe, done any shamanistic work in terms of plant medicine. I know a lot of people that do it, meaning ayahuasca and or shrooms or psychedelics or even all the way to poisonous frogs, you name it. I mean, there's all kinds of things. And that doesn't jive with me. I don't have any need to want to do that. But a lot of people love it. And a lot of people think it's great. Yeah. It's just a thing that I would like to attain where I go on my own. But, I'm not judging anybody else.
She is a shaman, is considered plant, but no psychedelics, no whatever that is. It's very different. It's connection to plant, in a way that is not consuming the plants and doing the.
And I've done that myself. Like I connect and I download ayahuasca, but I don't eat it, or smoke it or drink it or whatever. I don't know. I don't do any of it, but I just don't do any of that, but I'll connect or download with the frequency or the deva of it. And it's like, I will do it that way.
Yeah. I think that's very similar to, and she uses it for healing, but it's not consuming or.
And sometimes what they'll do is they'll download into a tincture and you can take a tincture of it. So you don't even have to use the plant in the tincture. You can just download it in. So those are different ways too. But yeah, I don't do really any of that.
Right.
Tinctures don't really do a ton for me either. They're kind of similar for my body, like a supplement. It's kind of like,
Yeah. Right.
So
Yeah, it
I
is.
I think I don't know if I get bored maybe, or I just get antsy, or I want to see something quicker. I don't
I
know.
just don't feel it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Like I
Yeah.
really was interested, like this could be so fun. And we
Yeah.
did that class. I thought, wow, this is so fascinating. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not really supposed to
Yeah.
be focused
Yeah.
on that right now. I don't know.
Yeah. And again, that's a really good point, Kim, that you're bringing up, that we should really say your wants and needs and interests change, and
Mhm.
be open enough to allow your body to float in and out of things. I mean, I don't know anybody that does one thing only all the time.
Right. Right.
I just don't know about that.
Mm.
But I
No.
I was trying to remember the word, the modality name for when I had been poisoned, and you go and you do this infusion into your body where they like give you something for poisoning, and you can do it for molds and things too. And I don't remember what that is. I shouldn't have even brought it up, I guess.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know what that is. I didn't know you did that.
ENDR, I think, is the pill, and maybe it is that you take it, but yeah, that I don't really do anything with that either.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, some of that stuff makes me kind of nervous.
Yeah. Have you ever done the infrared pod? I don't think you have you?
Well, you know me, I'm such a spaz when you put me in anything with a door closed.
I know, a
No,
little
talk.
claustrophobic.
I haven't done it. What do you like about it?
I love
That's a
it.
sauna, right?
Yeah, and so it's a pod. It looks like an egg pod, and everything's in but your head. Right? I know it just drives you crazy. But the infrared lights, plus it's a massage table underneath. It opens up and gets your lymph nodes moving.
Wait, are
All of a
you
sudden,
laying in the pod? You're
yeah,
laying in the.
laying in the
Okay,
pod,
that's even worse.
naked and everything but the head.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah. And
oh.
so it gets really hot. But it gets everything moving, like in your lymphatic system is
Mm.
really, and it helps. I think it's good for the skin too, but infrared is supposed to be really good for your body overall. And then I also do the foot detox there, which
Yeah.
is just crazy what comes out of your feet. People kind of just spell it, but I'm like, I
I've
can
done it with you.
be
Yeah.
kind of phlegmy
Yep.
and it will come out of my feet.
Yep.
Like it's crazy. It makes my sinuses just start to like do its thing. And yeah, it's
I
really,
think the first time I did an ionizer for the feet was at some expo, and everybody was like yapping about it. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And then you get in there and you look down and you're like, that's disgusting.
I know.
What's in my body,
Yeah.
And so I have seen a difference. In fact, when you and I went,
Yeah.
I think I was cleaner because I had been a cleanse not all that long before we went. And mine was hardly having any come out, and yours had more come out. Whereas I think if I hadn't been cleansing, I would have had a lot more come out,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
for sure.
it is a cleanse. It's a cleanse. So
When I was detoxing last year, in
yeah,
like February through June or July or whatever, when I would go, a lot more would come out of my body.
yeah,
It was really crazy because the detox and the supplements I was taking, I think were forcing more
flushing.
of
Yeah,
flushing things out that
yeah,
it was disgusting. So
yeah, it
felt
is.
good. I felt good after it. So
It's kind of like gross roadkill. You don't really want to look at it, but you're like, oh my God, that's so gross. And you just keep looking at what's coming
keep
out of your
looking.
feet. But and so cleanses I do did way too many during these last 2 years of my little trouble, but don't need to do one of those for a while
Yeah.
now. But did a brain cleanse for the mercury, did a blood cleanse, and did a gut cleanse, and those are all different kinds of cleanses. Oftentimes I'll use standard process. Arise and Shine is the killer one that absolutely, it's very, very hard and very, very tough on your body. After everything that I went through, that's when I cut my hair because it was falling out like crazy. So you do have to watch when you cleanse that much that everything sheds,
Yeah. Yeah.
including bird nests of my hair. And so,
Right.
my fingernails were changing, everything was changing. It was just kind of gross. And so, but it was important for me to make sure that element was out of me. But those cleanses, I think, can be good once a year or twice a year, but not to
Yeah.
the extent. The Arise and Shine ones are really toughy. So it's just
Yeah.
really hard.
I don't know. Yours was really tough. Mine was more long term, but it was still eating food.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I got down to the, just water diet. And
Yeah.
which brings me to things like juicing, that's here and there. I don't care for that. I had a really bad experience with celery juice, got completely E. coli and was dying sick for, 2 weeks and
Yeah.
never did that again. I do weird little things like I use a Ma roller, I use a chi machine, I use those little foam rollers, I use feet rollers, I use TENS machines. All of those things are just, and I have a full little chair massage roller thing. Those things are all the things that I do when I'm maybe like too wound up and I'm going to go to bed, and I just do a little bit of that and then I sleep really well. Or I wake up at 3 and I can't go back to bed. I run downstairs and I do those couple of things I just mentioned and I go right back to bed. So those are things that I'll just use for popping in for band-aid effects more than anything. It's not like a healing, but it is a rebalancing of the body that I think works really well.
Yeah.
Have you done technically a Reiki session?
I know, which is so crazy because I took classes on Reiki.
I know you and I took
I do it on myself.
Yeah.
And I use it on myself, but I've never gone to somebody for that. I would love to sometime if it's somebody who's reputable and is kind of intuitive, I think.
Yeah. I had a Reiki session years and years ago before I even knew what anything was. I didn't even know what the word was. And I didn't feel much of anything. In fact, I thought it was really strange. But then I didn't know what I was looking for either. So I can't say if it was a good practitioner or not. The only other time I've done a technical so-called Reiki session was with somebody in Sedona who is a friend of my sister's, but she is not a Reiki practitioner. She is wicked strong. She's wicked strong out there, but she calls herself Reiki because I think it's easier. But yeah, I think Reiki is a very powerful modality for other people. It's not what I do, but I think that it's just, I think it works for very many people in a really great way. One of the coolest things that I did was a sound healer. And that is so awesome because it was like tuning forks and bowls and drumming and just crazy, crazy sounds. And again, for me, that's a higher frequency. I go flying out of my body. So I saw this one gal, and sadly now she moved away. She was crazy cool. And I thought that was really, really fun. Have you done any of that?
No, I have not. No, only sound when like through you, like drumming and the bowls and all that when we're in a group and doing that kind of thing, you totally feel it.
Yeah.
I've never gone to a practitioner that does the sound healing.
There's even like I've heard, and I've not found these yet here, but I've heard that there's these places where you can go under these giant drums and it's almost like you're inside and boom, 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 that kind of a thing. It reminds me of when we were somewhere and there was a giant bell outside and we all jumped inside the thing and we hit the bell and it was like like that. So those are kind of fun.
The cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. A salt cave I went to the other day, and I've done that quite a few times. And this was the place that had the sauna, and in the sauna was that red infrared thing you talked about.
Yeah,
the sauna itself just had it, not a pod. I mean, I couldn't go in a pod ever, but I didn't buy the infrared package though, so I just had a normal sauna. But the salt cave is awesome, I think, and there's different kinds where they're really beautiful. Himalayan, it looks gorgeous, or this one had little teeny tiny individual rooms where you were in a small spot and it was just white. But it was really great because it just was pulsing and they blow in air and then you're completely covered in salt by the end of it. It's a very messy modality, but I think it's awesome for Minnesotans, especially at this time of the year and coming into the yuck.
That'd be fun to do in the wintertime.
Yeah, I think that they're very fun. In conjunction with that, they also have another kind of pod, which is the water pod. Have you done that?
I haven't, but it's on my list. I love water. Oh, and it's salt water. You go in with the salt water. It's so healing, I heard. So
I hear it's awesome. I hear no, you're just gonna have
to. But again, you're enclosed. So yeah.
I just, that's that mortician's daughter in me. Too many years of playing in caskets. I just cannot do it.
Oh my God.
I was wondering if have you done Koya?
Only at one of your retreats.
Ah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Koya is it was our friend did it for us at my retreat, and she does it. A lot of my clients are actually Koya people, and that is such a cool modality. It's kind of a dance, body movement, card pull, intention. It's awesome, and it's really fun, and I think that that's a really neat one, as is any dance therapy. I think that that's really cool. It kind of puts in some yoga poses, kind of some I Ching, or all of those. I Ching, that's the card deck. Qigong, sorry. All of those are really, any martial artwork that is cool and smooth.
Yeah.
It's really fun too. Yoga, I'm not as great as it. I wish I would really get hooked, and I'm not.
I am the same way. Like I
don't
do
know
it,
why I can't
and
get
then I'm
hooked.
like, and it was so funny because I did it a couple times in Hawaii a few years ago, and the poor lady's like, "What are you doing here?" Like,
Yeah.
who
And
are
I
you?
wish I just would have this wonderful all of a sudden breakthrough and go, oh my God, I'd live for this, because I remember, you know who I remember? Are you ready for this? Showing our age. I remember when Madonna got hooked on it, and
Oh
it
yeah,
completely changed her body. She
yeah.
changed her body completely, how she looked. And it was because she became this massive yoga freak. And so I'm like, that was so cool. But yeah, I haven't got that great at it yet. So yeah, no.
No,
All right. I got one I bet you don't. Have you ever done colonics?
no, I have
Yeah.
no desire to do that.
I've done it several times, and I still have no desire to do it. And I had a friend that was really, really into it, and I just have no reason to do
No.
colonics. And people say it's so great and so great, and your stomach's flatter afterwards, of course, because you got all the crap
Nothing's
out
left.
of it.
Yeah.
But it's
No.
just not my favorite thing. It's not because of what it is that it's not my favorite. It never feels cleansing to me. It just doesn't, my body doesn't react to it. When it's afterwards, my
Yeah.
body doesn't react to it. And even doing other cleanses, and, being a female period, I mean, I've done, colonoscopy cleaning and all that stuff, but it just never feels like my body's like, yeah, I like this stuff. So that's just never been mine.
Well,
My
and also I'm very aware that doing some of those things, you lose all the really good bacteria in your digestive. So when I had all the digestive issues,
Yeah.
too much bad bacteria, but why would you take all that out for a short
Yeah.
period of time when you got to build it all back up? I just see
And I didn't really work probiotics very well either. And I
mm-hmm.
didn't know that you had to switch them up, and I didn't know that you had to change them. So I think I've depleted my body more than I have increased it.
Exactly. You got to be careful doing that stuff, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my own ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ones that I thought was a fascinating, we've done a color person, I said before, and I think you've done them too. It was the couple of that works remote, and they infuse color into you, and that was kind of cool. But even more than that, I liked the light language. I've done I think two, maybe three, but two for sure. Light language sessions, remote also, and those are very interesting. I can feel the light language talk when the practitioner talks, and then they will also record it, so you can go back and do it at another time, and then you're watching the hand actions on this particular practitioner, and her hands are going crazy, and that is very moving for me. Other light language people, I can feel stirrings in my body. I don't know if it's awesome healing for all the other YouTube ones or whatever. There's a lot of light language out there, but I think that they're activations. I think that they activate you. I think that they will activate codes in you. I think that they will do fire letters in you. I think it'll wake things up in you. But the one gal that I did do twice was actually doing healing work at the same time,
That's
or
awesome.
field healing, etc. Did you do her?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't.
And then we also did, I think we shared that one other healer that came through the grapevine to do like massive, she was a 100% remote healer. You'd have a conversation with her, and she would tell you the time when she was doing the healing. And she was very, very expensive. And I don't feel like I got much of
I don't think I got anything out of that
anything
either.
out of that one. And lesson learned there. Just didn't.
I know. I even bought that one for my parents, and I don't think it did anything. So
Yeah. and again, I was super excited. So I wasn't negative when I was going in, because I really, really thought, oh, this is going to be a really cool new thing to learn.
Yeah.
And then lastly, have you done any horse or animal therapy?
No.
Okay. Which I think is a fascinating thing that a lot of people find that that's an incredible connection, especially the horses. The horses actually heal. I've been fortunate enough to do it the other way.
Yeah, you're healing horses. Yeah.
And so that's been fabulous experiences for me. I've done several horses, and I think when I work with a horse or on a horse, they are so powerful, and they're so psychic, and they're just so telepathic, and
oh my gosh,
they're incredible. And I think that that's fascinating.
I love horses. I just am so enamored with how majestic and they just I don't know, they're so much more than I think some people think. I know, like you said, telepathic and sensitive, and
they work with trauma, which I think is super cool. So I don't think I have enough depth of traumatic things stuck in me to justify doing that, but I'm in awe of it. I think it's amazing. So
great.
Okay. And then what do you have?
So prayer is
prayer.
One.
That's you.
Yep. To have individual I writing individual prayers for people. I think that this has been really therapeutic for me and the individual, that is taking on the prayer. So I think that's probably different than most people have done, but it's really fascinating to me.
And prayer circles, I think, are amazing, which brings us to circles, period. I think any kind of a circle, especially when you're doing a prayer or bringing an intention or doing toning or chanting or anything, or burning. We do despacho ceremonies a lot in our Vibe Tribe. Vibe Tribe itself, you can look online on my website for that. That's the online community. And Vibe Tribe gets together every month on webcast. And you can feel this energy when people work together. And when we do it live and in person and do despacho burning ceremonies and drumming, I think it's so powerful. Yes, I mean, we must have had 100 people the last time, and just one after another, coming up and getting their blessing and putting it in. And it's such a beautiful, learned from the shamans, by the way, in Peru, such a beautiful opportunity to do collective healing and ritual work and burning work. And it's just so powerful.
And going back to your Vibe Tribe, I don't know if people really understand, but you're bringing forward the energy that's happening at that time, for that time period. And what it does for me anyway is, one, it makes me feel like I'm not the only one out there that's going through whatever's happening energetically, but two, it'll trigger me to go to some type of healing, whether it's going to you or going to one of the other types of modalities. Because it's like, oh yeah, I guess I feel it, and I'm not balanced, or I need to get a little help here. And it triggers me to do that, along with all the information, the learning information. It's really important. And to have a group of people that you're doing this with is like, it just makes it feel just so whole, I guess.
Well, and you give a commitment to yourself, was what you're saying. And it's really great to be able to remind yourself every month that you're like, oh, I'm not nuts. It's really crappy right now. Or, oh, I am nuts. Everybody's nuts in this group. I feel great. Right? I mean, it's really super fun.
It's really great. Yeah. So you need to talk about your healing. Not everybody knows what you do.
Yeah. Someone asked me the other day, like, what I actually do, because it was a new client. And so for anybody that doesn't know what I do, I'm a quantum healing telepath. So I'm an intuitive that is full body empath. So I merge with my clients. I feel everything inside of their body to scan them and identify what it is that is off in them. And that's emotionally, physically, mentally, or spiritually. And I can feel it within my own self. And then I go in and out of that merging throughout the whole entire session, from the talking to the body scanning through the healing. And then I pull out completely, obviously, when they leave, so that they go home alone and I'm with just myself. And, but where I go for that depends on the client. So oftentimes, if the client really connects to the earth energies, I'm doing a lot more fairy work or gnome work or rock work or things like that, or sound work. But if they are galactic, I go up into the light people, the galactic beings, and I do ascended masters. So I'm all over the board. But what I do for myself being a multidimensional worker for my own self, I basically work on myself a lot. And I am very diligent about my space and my fields and scanning all the time. But I will lay down and my light beings will come and work on me. And I can feel 100%. I can feel when they're in the room. I can feel when there's a ship. I can feel, oftentimes I'll go on ship. I can see the ship in my mind's eye. I've walked it. I remember the time you were on, I put had you on the ship.
Yeah.
My clients will know when they're on ship. When I put them into the work, they don't necessarily see the ship, but they feel the kind of like the medical equipment, or they feel like there's medical lights, or they feel like there's an MRI machine. It's a lot of scanning and things like that. So the galactics will work on my body quite extensively. That happens almost every night when I sleep. I can go into the astral realm pretty easy. I'm working, like I said, more on remote viewing lately, and working on more astral traveling lately to get more skilled at that and pull in better mediumship. And so, yeah, it's a combination. And mine is, I work on 4 people a day, and not one single thing is common ever. I mean, there's just,
which is so awesome, because you just, what you bring to the table then is that, hey, this is going on with several people, or this is crazy, like not crazy in that, but wow, this is a new experience. That what is this bringing forward for everybody as things are changing so much in our world,
And because I do the macro work out in the multiverses, then it's really easy to the micro work in the body. So, whether it's my body or a client's body, and so, or a body of land, or a body of a dimension, or a plane of existence. I mean, it's always different stuff. I was telling somebody the other day that how I actually use geometrics and circuitry to go in and rearrange things in the instruction sets of actual universe. And so, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I'm very blessed and honored to be able to do what I do, because it's never the same and it's never boring. That's for sure.
Right.
But I have to be very careful with my own body. I'm very picky about who I let work on my body, because I have a different frequency, and I have scared people in the past, and it's a very foreign frequency for them. And so I'm very, very picky. So I'm very grateful for the practitioners that I do use and trust. And this is for anybody listening. Be careful who you're working with, and make sure they resonate with you in terms of their ethics, their, prices, their time spent, all of that, because this is important stuff. And then lastly, one of the greatest healing modalities is the death doula part that I do. And I'm very blessed and fortunate to be able to work with people that are dying all the time. And I can be in person with that, or remote with that. And I hold space in my head. If you're a really, prominent client of mine, it's always running back there, and I'm kind of tapping in, tapping out. And I know when somebody needs the little hit of whatever. And it's a very big honor to be able to help people shut down their body and go through the process of dying and transmuting, because we're all going to do it. And it's really a beautiful process to watch when the fear is taken out. And so I think that's really cool.
Absolutely.
For sure. So I would like to see, and we'll talk about this off camera, but I would like to see us talk a little bit more about death periodically too, because people are so scared of death, and they're so caught in the fear that they miss the miracle.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of that has to do with what they think death is post body.
Yeah.
And so that would be fun to do. And not that death is fun, but
it is fun to talk about. I had some
beautiful.
Great interviews when I had that book out, and then COVID kind of got in the way. But when I was doing some of the interviews on death and dying, I was having a blast, because I remember these 2 reverends, and they were funnier than crap, and we were laughing about everything having to do with death. So it can be fun. All right. Anything that we missed from your end? Because that was a lot, right?
It's a lot. And there's more.
A lot of choices. There's way more. I'm sure we forgot a million. And if you think of anything that we forgot, feel free to put it in the comment bar so other people can find the things that we forgot, because I'm sure there's a ton, right?
Exactly. And again, whatever resonates with you. And and it might not right now, but later on it will.
And it might come back, and it might go away, and you might advance, and you might go backwards. So there's no normal.
No normal.
That's for sure. But do something for yourself. Oh, I even did a facial today. I told you that, which I haven't done in 5 years.
Oh my goodness.
This is
You
so
told
weird.
me yesterday you're doing a facial, and I woke up this morning with a zit, and I never get zits. I'm like,
yeah, thanks.
what
Thanks
is
for that.
that? Thanks.
I'll probably have them tomorrow from the facial today. But I walked in and this woman goes, "Oh my God, have I worked on you before?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. I haven't been doing a facial forever." And she said, "You just look familiar. I think I've worked on you before." And I'm like, "Huh." And I said, "How long have you worked here?" And she said, 5 years. Halfway through my thing, I'm like, "Oh my God, it all came back." I was on her first day.
Oh
So
my
I
gosh.
had not done a facial for 5 years. So I had an old gift certificate that I put towards it. And so I figured I'm gonna whoop it up. And I did a 90-minute. And I'm like, she did, like rubbing your feet and your shoulders and your hands and your arms also, besides all the face. But I sat there thinking, how much stuff can you possibly do to your face? I don't even care, man. I'm doing it once a quarter because it was so relaxing. And it was just so calming. And it was just, she was beautiful. She was kind. She had great energy. And even something like that is a healing for your soul. These are things that are important. These aren't like trivial, like, oh, I'm going to do a facial. It is important for us, depending on who we are and how we live, to make sure we find balance in our body. And this is how we keep dis-ease and disease out of it. And so whatever modality rings your bell, at least try something so that you are moving this body into a better place. So
I agree.
okay. Awesome. All right. Well, on behalf of both of us, thank you. Thank you. Hit the share or the like button, talk about it, have a comment, whatever you need to do or not. And until next time, cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.